Welcome back on a Football Friday, everybody. A spooky Halloween edition. By the way, we're brought to you in part by Suds Full Service Car Wash. Are you stuck for gift ideas? Suds gift cards available online at our location at Costco. They're the ultimate for anyone who loves a clean ride. Visit sudsregina.com. Okay, the coach is here, Jim Barker. Coach, I don't even never know where to start with you other than my Blue Jays, your Dodgers. Can we start? I can't imagine what the town's going through. Nice haircut, by the way. Is the town
Oh,
on
thank
fire
you.
today?
Thank you. No, it's actually raining, putting fires out.
Oh.
So, yeah, you know
Okay.
what? I'm sure I did tell you I'm cheering for the Blue Jays. Kudos to you picking the Blue Jays in 6. And they've got Yamaguchi going tonight. The Dodgers do. But the Blue Jays figured out how you beat a Japanese pitcher. You play a game, you put him on base 9 times, and then play the game 15 hours later that he's going to be the starting pitcher in.
It's
That's all you
going to
got to
be too
do.
tired.
That's all you're going to do.
Tire them out. Yeah, exactly.
That's how they got Ohtani good. He could not go 4 innings. I ended up going 6, but it wasn't his best 6 innings. But what a game. You know, with the Blue Jays, what a fantastic comeback the last 2 days. But that 18-inning game was one of the best baseball games, and I know a lot of people couldn't stay awake late enough. That was one of the best. It had everything. It had, if you're a baseball fan, if you're any kind of sports fan, the anxiety, it had everything. Was it crushing for the Blue Jays? Sure, it was. But then they come back and they win the next 2, and now everybody forgets we got a chance to see maybe the greatest baseball game in Major League history. So, again, applause to the Blue Jays. Too bad that Shimaguchi, he didn't pitch or get on base 9 times yesterday. So, they're going to have to beat his best, and he's a good pitcher. But we'll see what happens. It should be interesting.
It's been the greatest sports story of the century. Yamamoto, by the way, is the name. And I see what you're low key. You're low key trying to jinx this. I'm not celebrating anything. I said Blue Jays in 6. I know what you're trying to do. I'm not celebrating anything until it's over, and I'll be blowing it up everywhere. But the Blue Jays have dominated with the bats on the mound at the right times. It's been a hell of a story. It's been a hell of a story. Okay. Football.
Okay.
Go.
Now you talked about Chris Greer earlier and getting rid of the GM midseason and whatever. But what about college football? 12 coaches, FBS coaches fired before November 1st. 12, the most ever since the FBS came into creation in 19 I believe it was 78. So you're talking about a long time. 12 coaches fired. Well, is it not coincidental that it happens at the same time as NIL? And, you talked about Stephen Ross making the decision and having Mark Ant. So imagine you're at LSU, okay? And you've got to get $40 million for your NIL. And you've got 4 boosters who each put $10 million in. Now, for $10 million, and this is all just, I'm giving you the example of what college football is becoming. So each one of those put that money in. They want to have some kind of say. I mean, it's not about getting a parking space or getting they want to have a say in who the coach is going to be. So you got one who says, well, let's go get Lane Kiffin out of Mississippi. Then you got another who says, well, shoot, let's just go get Nick Saban. He really wants to coach again. Let's just go get him. And then you got another who says, well, I think we ought to go up and get Joe Brady out of Buffalo and bring him back. He did great things with Joe Burrow. So you've got, if you just any other candidate, Matt Rule, anybody, if there's 4 candidates that these 4 people want different people, you now have, if you're Nick Saban and you're hired, 25% of the people really want you. 75% don't. If you're Joe Brady, again, because you're talking about those 10 million are representing, the people, they're donating the money. They want to say now. That's why so many people are getting fired. I mean, Penn State, to fire that guy, at LSU, I thought the governor came on and talked about it. And this is why I'm talking about LSU, because I thought he said some things that were really made you think. So their AD, Scott Woodward, the last guy he signed when he was at Texas A&M was Jimbo Fisher, who was paid out $78 million to get bought out, and now they're paying Brian Kelly $50 million. So the governor of the state, he says, this guy's a state employee. I'm not letting this guy who's given away $120 million in buyouts make the decision. So, we're going to have a group that we're going to approve that's going to go make the decision. Now, who's that going to be? So you have so many different factors now with the money needed for NIL to be what NIL is, and the expectations go sky high. Now, the LSU governor had a really interesting concept. So all these guys have these big buyouts, and right now the highest paid guy's making $12 million a year, and Signetti just re-signed for $11.8 million a year for 8 years, and the buyouts, $80 million, whatever they are. They're just astronomical contracts. His point was, okay, we want to win national championship. Let's see if somebody's willing to bet on themselves, and we'll pay them $6 million. But if they win and get to the playoffs, they'll get another $5 million, and then another $5 million if they make it to the championship game, and then another, so they could make $20 million and be the highest paid guy. But they got to earn it. I thought it was an interesting concept. I think it's something you're going to see start to happen, because these buyouts they're out of control in college football.
By the way, that was the talk in the press box at the high school game last night in Fort Lauderdale. Cardinal Gibbons amongst the football people was the buyouts, and just mind-boggling. And Scott Woodward fired, by the way. Did you mention that at LSU?
Oh, was he?
Blowing that. Yeah, he's fired yesterday. Yeah,
oh,
that's how fast that's happening. That's how fast it's going. What school, if you could say it in your mind, has managed the NIL the best since they brought it in a couple years ago?
Obviously, Ohio State. Now, do they have the most money to do it? Probably.
Yeah.
They're number one in the nation right now, probably by a long way over Indiana. Those two teams, I think, they'll play soon. But you have to say Ohio State, because they won it last year. They came back, and are they paying $40 million to do it? Maybe. Who knows? But last year, after they lost to Michigan, they wanted to fire Ryan Day. And instead, he ends up with a $12 million a year contract. And, it's all these jobs opening. A lot of coaches use it to get another job. Like James Franklin's I think he's going to go to Virginia Tech. So he's already got himself a new job. So the buyouts are all contingent on, if they don't work, that's how much they get. Some of them are payout right away. It's all in how the agent negotiates the deal. So, it's so interesting. But I would say Ohio State, just because they're the number one team in the nation.
They won it.
They've got the best players, and they won it last year.
Utah Darren writes, and he says, NIL is not sustainable at the rate it's going for the NCAA. Paying someone $50 million to leave a job? Insane. Okay, thank you for that. I know you're dying to talk about the CFL playoffs. The home teams are favored both by 4.5 points. Winnipeg at Montreal, Bombers a crossover team for the first time ever, and BC favored at home by 4.5. So the home against Calgary, the home teams are favored. Do you think the home teams win?
Okay, and each one for different reasons. In Montreal, the first game up, we got some major injuries in that one. There's 2 injuries to the defensive line in Montreal. Uguak's not going to play. Mustafa Johnson's not going to play. And Winnipeg, who did not have one offensive lineman on the all-CFL team, which speaks volumes when Brady Oliveira is your tailback, for them to not have one make it. And again, those teams I kind of take with a grain of salt, because they're voted by media who really, we don't know anything, but it's because I do have to consider myself media because I'm on your show. But anyway, and then the Bombers, I'm just not sold on them, on their front seven. Willie Jefferson is Willie Jefferson. He's still going to jump up, bat balls. He's not the game record that he was 3 years ago even, but he's still a great player. but I'm not sold on the whole front seven. Lawson and Jake starting at the inside tackles. Vodder's on one side has been okay. Tony Jones was an all CFL player. We had him. He was we had cut him out from Toronto. So again, I'm not sold on them. I'm going to take Montreal. Now, Davis Alexander, he's undefeated. He's never lost a game. He's never, ever started a game in the playoffs. He only played in 40% of their games less than 40%. He played in less than 40% of their games this year. Okay, so again, it's what is he? We don't know. I mean,
no,
yeah.
But when he did, he won.
He'd win. So we're going to see what Davis Alexander's all about these next 3 weeks. If he goes 3-0 the next 3 weeks, the guy's a bona fide. You know what? He's in a different class. Personally, I think they can beat Winnipeg. This one comes down to me. Usually when I look at a game, I look at quarterback versus quarterback. In this game, I'm going to look at Jason Hogan, the offensive coordinator in Winnipeg, against Noel Thorpe, the offensive coordinator in Montreal. Hogan has never done this before in a playoff, and playoffs are different even for coaches. Noel Thorpe is an old veteran who's done it forever. I don't know that Hogan will have the patience that it's going to take to attack a Noel Thorpe defense. Noel Thorpe, he was with me when I was with Don Matthews back in the in the old days. And Don Matthews' philosophy was let him go for a 7-yard run and an 8, because the offensive coordinators will never have the patience to stay with it. Just don't give up the big play. And that's Noel Thorpe's, that's what he does. So I'm going to take Noel Thorpe over Jason Hogan and call that as Montreal is going to win. In the other one, it comes down to quarterbacks. And Nathan Rourke is playing now better than anybody in the league. And VA has had some good games and had some off games. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I don't like his receiving core or how VA has fit in with that receiving core, because there's been a lot of guys in and out, and he hasn't been able to get into a good rhythm like Rourke is in BC. I think that's going to be a big factor. And then the defenses, I think, are kind of a wash. I mean, Calgary at times has played great. They get their linebacker back that was key for them, their inside linebacker. And now Hudgens is back as on defense at defensive tackle, which is big for them. So I just see those as a wash, but I'm going to take Rourke over VA and pick the BC Lions to go into Saskatchewan next week, and the Montreal Alouettes to go into Hamilton next week.
Thank you for that. And it's funny because the finalists for Coach of the Year were named Thursday: Corey Mace versus Jason Moz. And the one thing that I know from being around the league for so long, all the coaches are real good. But I look at Milanovic, plus 44, I think, number one in turnover ratio, worst to first. You saw it coming. Scott Milanovic probably got some votes, or should have, for Coach of the Year.
For Jason Moss to beat him out when he has a team that was, basically finished second to this team. And yeah, he had quarterbacks in and out, but that's all part of coaching. I mean, the injuries aren't part of coaching, but having the right backup and being able to win with McLeod, Bethel Thompson, those kind of things. And he didn't do that. They didn't win the division. What Milanovic did, taking a team that had not won and was not even in the playoffs last year and win the division, I think was miraculous. To take a horrible defense and bring in the people. They go and draft Verasuk, first in the draft, and he makes a huge difference for him at Mike linebacker. There's just a lot of reasons why I believe Milanovic should have been the Coach of the Year out of the East.
Yeah,
it brings up Nathan Rourke versus Bo Levi. I mean, last year I said I can't vote for Bo Levi because I can't vote for a guy whose team did not make the playoffs. I don't care what his numbers were. I just couldn't. This year, how can I not vote for Bo Levi? He has, they say, well, he played in 2 more games than Nathan Rourke. Well, to me, that's a huge positive. You got your quarterback in every game with Bo Levi, where Nathan Rourke, he had injuries that kept him out. That should be I mean, yeah, he didn't catch him because he shouldn't. I mean, I don't look at it as, well, he played 2 less games. I look at that 2 less games as a negative. As a coach, I want guys who are on the field. Availability is the most ability you can have. So I would vote. I don't know that I'll get a vote this year. I should get a vote. I did the preview show. I should get a vote. Anyway, I will vote for Bo Levi because I just believe that he deserves taking a last place team to a first place team. I think, and he didn't have the same kind of defense that Nathan Rourke had. So anyway, that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, well, we're going to be out of time before too long, but you kind of answered this earlier. How much does Winnipeg miss Buck Pierce as the OC? I've seen all the heat on Jason Hogan. I don't know if it's Hogan's over his head or Buck was just that good, but they are in the bottom half of the league offensively. And I know the quarterback's been hurt. I know all that, but they're just not the same team.
It's huge. And Jason Hogan's background has been very limited. He was with Buck Pierce in Winnipeg, and he had been at Montreal maybe for a couple years. But I think that's a huge, like I say, that to me is the difference maker in them this week against Montreal. I just don't hit the experience, watching the adjustments made, watching the way he utilizes formations as opposed to the way Buck Pierce utilizes formations. Those are things you learn through time. And it's no rap on Jason Hogan. He's a good young coach. But you're talking about now, it's a different level. There's a different pressure level when you get to a one and done playoff. And the intensity level's different. Everything's different. And the play caller, it's different. So it's going to be interesting to see. So I think that is a huge factor for Winnipeg.
We don't have a GM of the Year award in the CFL. It burns my grits. But if they did, who would it be?
It'd be one of two. It would either be Jeremy O'Day. I think he's done a nice job of keeping the right people around and building on the line, trying to build on lines. Their offensive line still isn't where it needs to be, but it's so much better. And their defensive line, 3 out of 4 players made all CFL. And I mean, their defensive line is stellar. And you knew with Corey Mace as a coach that was going to happen. So I would say him. I mean, I think Dave Dickinson deserves mention. Without question. He deserves mention. Ryan, I mean, that's a tough one. Ryan Rigmaiden brings in those 3 players, Bell and Tavai and TJ Lee, and completely turns that defense around. He's wanted them to be a physical team, and I think they're close to that. They still didn't get any offensive linemen, in the all CFL thing, but and I'm not sure how good they are there, but they're making the strides there. So I mean, like I say, I look at all those guys, and they've done. I mean, even Ed Hervey, who didn't make the playoffs. I mean, what he did there was. I mean, he's got he's on the cusp right now of he's going to come in next year and they're going to be talked about as a team to beat, as a team that's close to win because of some of the players he's brought in this year. Now they have a year of experience. They started 1-6. So I hear
7 wins. To me, it's Dave Dickinson hands down. 5 wins to 11 wins. And you look at all the moves that he made. It is Dave Dickinson. Anyways, Coach, we covered it all. Enjoy the games. Great job. Yeah, well, as we have to go to break, you're right. Ted Govaya. We'll be right back.